Good evening and welcome to the City of West Sacramento, September 14th, 2020 regular meeting of the Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure Commission. As it is 6 o'clock, I hereby call the meeting to order. And Madam Secretary, could you please do a roll call to attendance?
Yes. Commissioner Parker?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Wetzel is absent. Commissioner Love?
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Chrisman Kaufman is absent. Commissioner Zimmer? Commissioner Zimmer?
Working on it. Oh, present.
Okay. Thank you. Vice Chair Paul Hamas?
Here.
Thank you. Chair Hirsch?
Here.
Thank you. 2 absent and 5 present. Thank you. Oh, and I guess I have to mention that we're introducing our new alternate commissioner, Lichtenstein. Sorry. And I guess you're here?
I am here.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, then before we begin, let me just read the following announcement. Pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N2920, members of the TMI Commission and staff will participate via a teleconference. To reduce the spread of COVID-19, members of the public are asked to watch the meeting live stream or via Wave Cable Channel 20, and to submit comments in writing by 5 p.m. on September 14th. To submit a comment in writing, please email jennifersc@cityofwestsacramento.org and write public comment in the subject line. The comments submitted shall become part of the record of the meeting. And with that underway, we'll move on to the agenda, General Administration Function Part 1, Item 1A, which is the Oath of Allegiance for Public Officers.
Okay. So we will be introducing our new commissioner, our alternate, Commissioner Lichtenstein. So I will review the oath of allegiance for public officers and employees. So just repeat after me and raise your right hand, please. I don't see your right hand, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I, and state your name.
I, Samar Lichtenstein,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance.
I'm sorry, there was typing.
I'll repeat that. That I will bear true faith and allegiance
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
for purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Well, welcome, Commissioner Lichtenstein, to the Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure Commission as an alternate commissioner. Thank you for willing to be of service.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, no, a very big welcome. It's good to have a fully membered TMI Commission once again. And moving on to item 1B, typically Commissioner Lichtenstein, when a new commissioner is sworn in, they have a few moments to introduce themselves to their fellow commissioners and to the members of the public who are watching the meeting. If you'd like to say a few words.
Sure, happy to. Well, hello, everybody. Like I just said, I'm very excited to be here. My name is Samara Lichtenstein. My last name is mispronounced all the time, so don't worry about it. I am a resident of the Washington neighborhood in West Sacramento, proud parent of an almost 1-year-old, which means I am very busy and sleep deprived. But she is one of the primary reasons I sought to be more involved in the work of the TMI Commission in West Sacramento generally. During the day, I work for the Air Resources Board, focusing on environmental justice issues. So, of course, I'm here as a resident and not an employee of CARB, as their lawyers would like me to say. And yeah, I bring a diverse array of experience, primarily in public health, environmental issues, and community engagement. So I've been following along to the meetings. I'm really excited to be here, and I hope I can contribute something.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you, Commissioner Lichtenstein. We're very, very fortunate to have you. Moving on in the agenda, item 1C, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the Commission. And we have received one public comment item that was sent in advance by email to all Commission members and is available on the Commission website for the public to view as well. According to the State Brown Act, the Commission is prohibited from discussing items not on the agenda brought to them at this time. Items must first be noticed on the agenda before any discussion or action may take place. That said, though, however, after reviewing the public comment, I would request of the Commission staff to reach out to the resident who submitted the comment and took the time, and I'd like to request that an item be added to the agenda for our next meeting to provide an update on that staff communication.
Mr. Chair Hirsch, this is Jason McCoy. I'll go ahead and do that.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCoy. Moving on then to item 1D, Commissioner Communications. Commissioners, are there any communications at this time? Seeing none, I'll just add one of my own. Last week, I helped publicize online the City of West Sacramento's Mobility Action Plan, which is currently holding focus groups in the community. 2 focus group sessions will be scheduled this week on Tuesday and on Wednesday. So I plan on attending one of those and hope that my fellow commissioners can either attend or help share and promote the event in their circles so that there can be as much community engagement as possible. With that, moving on to the consent agenda. There is one item on the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? We have a motion by Commissioner Parker. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Vice Chair Polhemus. Madam Secretary, can you please do a roll call vote?
Okay. Commissioner Parker,
Aye.
Vice Chair Polhemus,
Aye.
Commissioner Zimmer,
Aye.
Commissioner Love,
Aye.
Chair Hirsch,
Aye.
and Commissioner Lichtenstein.
Hi.
Thank you. So that's 6 yeses.
Perfect. Moving on then to the regular agenda, we have one item, item 3, update on the Highway Safety Improvement Program Cycle 9 Federal Grant Project.
Hi, good evening, Chairperson Hirsch and commissioners. My name is Joanna Ortiz.
and I'm a junior engineer for the Capital Projects and Transportation Department. I believe we need access to share the presentation slides. I'm not sure who can grant, but the person you want to grant access to is Ali Mua, because he's going to be presenting as well.
Okay, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, and you want to go to the top where it says slideshow.
Is it showing?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So as I mentioned already, my name is Joanne Ortiz. I'm a junior engineer for the Capital Projects and Transportation Department. I will be presenting the first half of this presentation, and then my colleague Ali Mo will be presenting the second half. And we're also accompanied by my supervisor, Vin Kay, who is going to be available to help us answer any questions you may have at the end of the presentation. And please feel free to interrupt me if I'm speaking too fast. I've been told I present really fast when I'm nervous. Okay, and the next slide, please.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to, because I know the staff person is supposed to be presenting the slide.
Yeah.
Jennifer, typically you can either advance the slides using the arrows if you still have control, or the presenter can do that.
I don't see. This dual screen is driving me nuts.
I just checked. I don't have control, so I'm unable to help you out there, Jennifer.
Let me unshare, stop share, and then Joanna, can you control it? Let me.
Can you grant access? I'm not sure if you can. Sorry, I kind of missed that.
Sorry,
but,
Madam Secretary, if you give me the host powers as well, I can try and help out.
Okay, let me do that. How's that? You should be host now.
Okay, yes.
And I think Ali Mua is the one who is going to be requesting access to share his screen.
Okay, if you could try now.
Is Ali on?
Perfect. And I think Ali, you're on mute right now, if you're intending to be on mute still.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I guess to begin, I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview on what we'll be covering this evening. I'll start by giving you a quick background of how the HSIP projects were established. And then I will get into the traffic safety street improvement projects, which are actually broken down into 3 different categories. They begin with the first project, which is intended to reduce user conflict zones. And I'll be showing you the locations for this project, and then as well as an example. And then the second project is intended to enhance existing pedestrian crossings. And then again, I'll be sharing the locations as well as an example location, and then the improvements that we're going to be adding to that location. And then the last project is intended to enhance pedestrian crossings near schools. And again, I'll be sharing the locations as well as an example. And then my colleague Ali Mua will be covering the traffic signal improvements project. And then we'll be happy to answer any questions or comments after that. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, this is an update on the Highway Safety Improvement Program, Cycle 9 federal projects. These are projects funded through Caltrans. And in 2016, Caltrans established the SSARP, which is the Systemic Safety Analysis Report Program. And the main goal of this program was intended to assist cities in performing collision analysis and identifying safety issues throughout the city's road network. And the data for this program was collected, or for this report was collected from the state.
Just checking to see if anybody else lost audio.
I have as well. Oh, it looks like Ms. Ortiz is back.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I didn't know I was out. Okay, I'm not sure what you heard about that. So I guess I'll start from the beginning. I'm not sure
so
what
Ortiz,
I missed.
you were describing the system. I think you're going to describe SWITers.
Okay. So I said that the data was collected from the statewide integrated traffic records system and then the city's crash database. And the data was collected from September 2012 to August 2017. And then the Systemic Safety Analysis Report, or SSAR, was completed in December 2018. And from this report, we were able to identify the locations with the highest collision rates based on the collision frequency as well as the severity. And some of those locations aren't part of this project specifically, and this is mainly because they were funded by other grants. An example of this is West Capitol Avenue. And let's see. And these grants are also very project specific, and so a lot of the improvements are specific to this project. So next slide, please. Okay. So the first traffic safety project is intended to reduce user conflict zones. And the 4 locations for this include Southport Parkway and Lake Washington Boulevard, Jefferson Boulevard and 15th Street, Sacramento Avenue and Sunset Avenue, and Lake Washington Boulevard and Westbridge Plaza Driveway. And the majority of these improvements will include adding center medians or medians to restrict turning movements. Turning movements can include U-turns or left turn movements. Next slide, please. Okay, so as you can see here, this is an example location. This is for Sacramento Avenue and Sunset Avenue. And in figure 1, you can see the current layout for this location. And as you can see I'm not sure if you can see it, it's kind of small, but at this location, if you're heading down southbound Sunset Avenue, there's no restriction for left turn movements, as well as if you're heading eastbound from Sacramento Avenue onto Sunset Avenue, you may also turn left here, which is conflicting. And so our proposed improvements, which can be seen in figure 2, will include adding center medians and medians, which will completely eliminate the left turn movement from Sunset Avenue onto Sacramento Avenue. But we'll still allow left turn movements from Sacramento Avenue onto Sunset Avenue. And another benefit of adding these medians is that on Sunset Avenue, this will actually create, I guess, a safety improvement for pedestrians that are crossing, because it kind of creates a barrier. It limits their exposure time when they're crossing Sunset Avenue. So that's an added benefit of adding these center medians. And next slide, please. So the next traffic safety project is intended to enhance the existing pedestrian crossings. And the 4 locations for this project include Jefferson Boulevard and 11th Street, 8th Street and 6th Street, Sacramento Avenue and Solano Street, and Sacramento Avenue and Simon Terrace Street. And these locations were identified from the SSAR, and it was determined that at these locations, pedestrians had difficulties crossing arterial roads. So the proposed improvements will include adding marked pedestrian crossings, as well as adding rectangular rapid flashing beacons or flashing beacons, which will help increase pedestrian visibility as they're crossing the street. Next slide, please.
May I ask a question on this one, please?
Yeah, of course.
The image, back to the last slide. The image shows the Mark 1 at Park in 11th, but the text shows Jefferson in 11th. Can you clarify which intersection that this is intended to be located?
Sorry, it's Jefferson and 11th Street.
Thank you.
Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so this is an example location for 11th Street and Jefferson Boulevard. And as you can see on figure 1, this is the current layout, and there's no crosswalk at the moment. And the nearest crosswalk is actually at Jefferson Boulevard and 15th Street. And figure 2 here shows the example of the proposed improvements at this location. As you can see, we're going to be adding a crossing as well as the flashing beacons, which will help alert vehicles when there's pedestrians crossing. And I'd like to point out that this is a location that is not currently marked, but pedestrians are still using it. And this is Jefferson Boulevard spans a total of 5 lanes, including the center turning lane, and it spans approximately 80 feet. So we're also going to be adding a refuge island. As you can see in figure 2, it's kind of small, but it's going to help decrease the pedestrian exposure as they're crossing the street. And then it's also going to help increase yielding and stopping by vehicles. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. So the last traffic safety project is intended to enhance existing pedestrian crossings near schools. And the 6 locations for this include Reuter Drive and Andrews Street, Poplar Avenue and Westfield Village Elementary School, Carey Street at Bright Park, Quail Road to Columbus Road, Columbus Road at Stonegate Elementary School, and La Jolla Street at Stonegate Elementary School. And these improvements will include adding additional signage as well as striping, which again is going to help increase the visibility at these crosswalks near the schools, which will help them. And then we are also going to be adding curb extensions to some of these crosswalks, which will help limit the exposure for children and pedestrians as they're crossing the street. We're going to be adding curb ramps at Columbus Road at Stonegate Elementary School and La Jolla Street at Stonegate Elementary School. And those will be ADA compliant. Next slide, please. Okay. And again, this is an example location. This is at Poplar Avenue and Westfield Village Elementary School. And as you can see, there's already an existing crosswalk there, but we're going to be restriping it to increase the visibility. And then we're going to be adding additional signage and curb extensions as well at this location. And I believe that concludes the traffic safety projects. So my colleague Alimo will be taking over from here, and he will be presenting the traffic signal improvements portion. Thank you.
See. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Joanna. So in addition to the street improvements that Joanna talked about, there's also going to be traffic signal improvements. You'll see the map here. There are 6 locations that's been selected. Those are along the Jefferson corridor and the Harbor Boulevard corridors. Along Harbor Boulevard, there is Harbor Boulevard and Evergreen, Harbor Boulevard and Duluth, Harbor Boulevard and River Point Court, and Harbor Boulevard at Reed Avenue. On the Jefferson Boulevard corridor, we have Jefferson at Sacramento Avenue and Jefferson Boulevard at Michigan. And so just to note, these intersections here has been selected from the SSIRP because they've had a trend of rear-end collisions. So to address those rear-end collisions, 2 countermeasures has been proposed at these locations to address those collisions or rear-end collisions. And one is the installation of flashing beacons, which has a crash reduction factor of 30%. Crash reduction factor, it is a percentage of the expected. So the crash reduction factor, CRF, is a percentage of crash reduction that is expected after implementing a given countermeasure. So in this case, flashing beacons is 30%, and signal hardware upgrades gives a CRF of 15%. Let's see. So with the flashing beacons, they're usually installed in high-speed intersections that will help alert drivers ahead of time of the signal ahead, and also help with in case pedestrians are crossing the street, and also help warn drivers of that also when the flashing beacon is on. And with signal hardware upgrades, they'll consist of equipment such as LED vehicle signal heads and the 12-inch tunnel visors, backplates, and mounting brackets. In addition, we're looking to upgrade the pedestrian heads into the countdown type and the existing pedestrian push buttons into accessible pedestrian signals, short for APS. And those are the types that are the audible kind. So people that are hearing or visually impaired will be able to cross the street safely when the sound goes off and says you can walk or chirp. Also, these countermeasure includes EVP detection or detectors with signal phase selectors. EVP is short for emergency vehicle preemption, which will help enable first responders to cross the intersection safely. And a signal phase selector is just you'll see here, that's the signal phase selector, and that's just the hardware to go with the EVP detection, and along with upgrading the signal cabinets, because some of the controller cabinets at certain intersections are pretty outdated. So that will also be needed to be upgraded as well. So moving along to the next slide is an example of the traffic signal improvements. You'll see this is the intersection of Sacramento Avenue and Jefferson Boulevard. I'm pointing out just one corner here at the northwest. you'll see this is the existing signal pole with the mast arm, and we have already the 12-inch traffic light here, but on the pole, there's still the old 8-inches traffic lights. So those will be replaced with the 12-inch LED traffic lights with new backing plates, along with the AVP installed on the mast arm rear. You'll see that there isn't one existing yet, so that'll be good for the first responders. And to the northeast corner, excuse me, we have the existing pet head's going to be upgraded to the countdown type, which will help pedestrians know how much time they have to cross the street. And also, like I mentioned earlier, the APS push buttons are going to be installed to replace the old existing push buttons. You'll see in this corner, there's no backing plates on this signal. And this one here, I can't see it too well, but it's pretty faded. And here's an example of what a newer signal head would look like with the darker backing plates to show contrast with the light and surrounding areas. And the flashing beacons would be applied here and on this side of Sacramento Avenue. Yeah, and then also, this is just an example. So this would apply to all corners, wherever there's 8 inches of the 8-inch traffic signal. Those will be upgraded to 12, and same for all the pet heads, not just the corner here. And that concludes the presentation, and we are open for any questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mula and Ms. Ortiz. Commissioners, any comments at this time?
I have a comment.
Thanks, Commissioner Zimmer.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, both of you, for that presentation. Very well done. I want to say that I am absolutely thrilled that this issue has gotten some attention with the city, because I can personally attest to the quality of a lot of those intersections that you highlighted. And yeah, they're dangerous and they're scary, and they're definitely a hazard. So I think bravo on identifying intersections that, if you had asked me for some of the worst ones, I would have guessed and maybe picked some of those. So yeah, and so another comment I had was I'm actually really thrilled also that you are looking at some of these pedestrian crossings on these large boulevards that have high speed limits. Sacramento Avenue and Jefferson Boulevard in particular are two streets that I have personally crossed and found it very difficult to cross. And I want to say that Jefferson and 11th, I think having a refuge island is an excellent idea. It allows a pedestrian who can't dash across the road like I can to wait for a gap in traffic and then go across half the highway, and then wait for another gap, which are created by lights, and go across the other half. And so I think that's a great idea. I would say that I would also love to see pedestrian islands on Sacramento Avenue, C and 6th Street as well, but I think, C and 6th Street has one. But those two locations on Sacramento Avenue that highlighted, in those areas, there are gaps, but there are rarely gaps that are concurrent in both directions. And, we're talking about 2 lanes plus a center lane. Getting across that location, that Sacramento Avenue and Solano Street location, it's like a game of Frogger. I don't think I've ever crossed there without running, to be honest with you. And I don't think anybody who can't run could possibly ever cross there. It's just too busy. The speed is too fast. And on the other side of the street from the neighborhood is a restaurant that seems to be very popular with people. And so, yeah, if you guys have plans in the future to add more refuge islands, I think those 2 locations would greatly benefit from it, because even with a marked pedestrian crosswalk, I'm still not sure folks who can't run could get across there. Yeah, I guess the other thing is, but generally, I'm very thrilled to see that you've highlighted these locations, and I think are really doing a good job at identifying problem spots and addressing them. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zimmer. And Commissioner Parker, I see your hand is up.
I'd echo a lot of the comments that Commissioner Zimmer had shared. I think that this is a really great opportunity for us to improve some of our infrastructure for PEDs and vehicles. A couple questions that I had on, and more towards the latter part of the conversation around the traffic signal improvements. When you're looking at the data that you use to pick these intersections, I think you mentioned collision data. Is it specific to vehicle, or were you looking at other collision data between vehicle, pedestrian, vehicle, bicycle? I'm just trying to understand what tools you use for that.
I believe the data was from the the statewide integrated traffic record system, and also supplemented with the West Sacramento's Crossroads database, and that looks up collision records of the following intersections.
And is that just vehicle specific then?
So, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to help answer that question. It actually includes collision data that includes pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicles.
Great. Thank you for that. I think that's an important part of the conversation when we're improving improving streets, that we're looking at all modes of transportation. I live in the neighborhood behind the Jefferson Boulevard, Michigan Boulevard intersection, and I've experienced, especially walking across Jefferson into the shopping mall there where the gym is and Safeway used to be. I would like, or I would suggest, if this is feasible, is looking at how do you further improve the pedestrian crossing experience there. I don't know if there's ways to delay the signal to turn green on turns and allow for a certain amount of time for pedestrians to get into the intersection, to be able to actually be seen by vehicles, because that is a conflict. Vehicles turning right out of that neighborhood onto Jefferson often make that right-hand turn blindly without checking their surroundings. So however we can make sure that we're improving these intersections in a way that benefits all of the modes of transportation, I would encourage we continue to look at that. I'm really excited about some of your improvements around the pedestrian crossings, like Commissioner Zimmer. I think that's a really important part of the transportation system. This is probably more of a broad discussion item, and I don't know where the city has fallen into this conversation. I know the city of Sacramento has gone through a fairly significant effort around Vision Zero, trying to halt all fatalities related to collisions in the city. I don't know if we've done any studies that are similar here in West Sacramento, and then kind of conjoining in the work that you did around the pedestrian improvements and crossing improvements around the schools, I think is a tremendous resource. If we've done a full analysis of safe routes to schools and what that looks like, because I think that's a larger policy conversation that we should be having as well. Is there anybody could potentially answer that if there's something that we've looked at as a city?
Let me jump in. Jason McCoy, Supervising Transportation Planner. We have definitely engaged in comprehensive safe routes to school planning. We continue to work on efforts with the local schools in the district in order to continue to improve safety throughout the city. So that those efforts are documented separate from what you're seeing here, or the HSIP projects that have moved forward from previous applications that were submitted. And these are based primarily on accident data and areas of known issues. And I also did provide a quick note to everyone, letting everybody know that we are continuing as staff to have ongoing discussions, particularly with regard to Sacramento Avenue, for preparing a more comprehensive corridor plan. These discussions are involving community development and the transportation group. Of course, things involving COVID, I hate to say it again, but things are put on hold often with this. But we're continuing to have those discussions and are actually looking into applying for Sustainable Communities grant or other transportation grants in the future to cover that. Hopefully I've answered your question.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. And then the last question that I had was, what is the timing of the different improvements that were outlined here in the presentation?
I think Joanna could probably speak to that, the specific timeline for those. Joanna, if you're available. Well, we may have lost her. I can go ahead and get that information and get it back to you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Perhaps I can help. This is Vin K, supervising engineer. So it sounds like we might have lost Joanna there. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, we just went to council in August to seek approval of the contract with the design engineering firm. So we just kicked off design of these improvements about 3 weeks ago. So realistically, we plan to advertise the project sometime next year. The improvements themselves we don't anticipate taking quite a lot of time to construct. So hopefully by next summer, we can get all these improvements in. Again, the HSIP program is very prescriptive in what type of countermeasures. So in applying for the grants, it really is very data driven, and we have to, and our planning staff, transportation planning staff did an awesome job, namely Sarah Strand, under Jason's supervision, did such a good job that our application was used as a template by Caltrans for other agencies. Not that we want to help them compete for these grants, but in any event, we were successful in getting the Cycle 9 grant, and our goal is to, again, improve safety for all users, whether it be cyclists, pedestrians, vehicular users of all types, whether it's semi-tractor trailers, or a small little car or motorcycle. That's always our goal for all users.
Thank you very much for that, and Kay, I appreciate it. And again, thank you for the presentation by the team. I think these are much needed improvements, and I'm excited to see this moving forward, and I'm very appreciative of all the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Great. Other commissioners, any questions? Vice Chair Polinas.
Thank you, and thank you, staff, for the presentation. I agree with the rest of the commissioners that I think you've selected some of the key intersections and locations where intervention and improvements are needed. What I noticed, and also to integrate the schools walking and cycle, or mostly pedestrian crossings within the schools. I happened to, between 2012 and 2014, I worked with Walk Sacramento in developing the Safe Routes to School plan for West Sacramento. And I know it's been appended into the citywide bicycle master plan, I understand, or the active transportation plan. What I noticed about Stonegate, it's a relatively new neighborhood. And so I hope that the improvements that are considered there have been addressed and coordinated with the development standards, so that these improvements don't have to be later implemented 10 years after other new neighborhoods are constructed. So just making sure that there's coordination with development services, that these standards that are reflected around the school for Stonegate are reflected in new neighborhoods that are being developed.
Yes, of course, absolutely.
Vice Chair Primus, do you have any other questions or comments?
Sorry, that is all. Thank you.
Great. And other commissioners, any questions or comments at this time?
This is Commissioner Zimmer. I just want to say I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the city has come up with for Sacramento Avenue. I'm really happy to hear that that's on the agenda shortly because, yes, there are several issues and ways to potentially improve that corridor. So looking forward to that.
Maybe I can give you a quick, I know this is not on the agenda, so I'm not going to give it too much time, but for Sacramento Avenue as a whole, we would be looking for applying for funding either in the next coming round of regional or community design projects or SACOG, or we'd be looking at the next round after that of the transportation planning grants from Caltrans. So soon would be with kicking that off probably after we've received the grants. So it'd be the next year and a half or so would be probably the schedule that we'd see that move forward.
And Commissioner Zimmer, did you have any further questions or comments?
I mean, I'm happy to give you my ideas on what could be improved in Sacramento Avenue, but I'm not sure this is the appropriate forum right now.
I would say we could save that for the more comprehensive effort to come. Yeah. You and the commissioners will definitely be looped into that.
Great.
Excellent. In that case, from commissioners, any further questions or comments? I'd like to just add my own then, and I agree with what's been said. I think that the staff have done an excellent job in pursuing these grants, and I really appreciate the geographic diversity across our city for these traffic safety and pedestrian safety and traffic signal improvements, particularly in our older neighborhoods. It's very reassuring to see that no one's been forgotten. And I agree with Commissioner Zimmer. I've often thought that Sacramento Avenue, even more in the West Capitol, has particular pedestrian issues given the lack of bright street lighting in certain portions, the lack of sidewalks in certain portions. And so it's really reassuring to see that Sacramento Avenue is going to get some significant pedestrian and vehicle safety improvements. And I would echo Commissioner Zimmer as well. I think that given the size of Sacramento Avenue, having a pedestrian island refuge seems appropriate if it's not too late to include that in the design medium. The question that I have is a matter of timing of this staff report. I understand that the City Council has already approved design contracts for the projects that have been outlined in tonight's commission meeting. And so typically the commission would give feedback and give advisory notes to have the city staff pass it along to the City Council. But in this case, it sounds like there's pretty widespread agreement that everything in the staff report is excellent. But I'm hopeful in the future when there's a next round of grant applications and projects on the drawing board that it could be added to the TMI Commission agenda so that the commissioners would have the opportunity to provide that feedback and provide those questions along to the City Council for them to consider when they make their policy decisions. And with that, unless there's any further commissioner questions or comments, I know that this item is on the staff report as a purely informational item, but given the robust discussion from commissioners, I'd actually like to make a motion that the staff take the commission comments and present them to City Council at the next appropriate opportunity. And so I'll make that motion if there's a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Chair Hirsch and a second by Commissioner Parker requesting that city staff make a note of the commission comments on this item and present it to the City Council at the next appropriate opportunity. Madam Secretary, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Vice Chair Paul Hamas?
Aye.
Commissioner Zimmer,
Aye.
Commissioner Love,
Aye.
Commissioner Lichtenstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Parker,
Aye.
Chair Hirsch,
Aye.
and there's 6 ayes and 2 absent.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you to Mr. Mula and Ms. Ortiz for your presentation. Moving on in the agenda then to General Administration Function Part 2, Item 4A, the TMI Commission calendar. Madam Secretary, could you share when the next scheduled meeting for the Commission will be?
It will be Monday, November 2nd, and then the one following will be January 4th, 2021.
Great, thank you very much. Item 4B, reports from city staff. Are there any reports?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just a couple of quick items. One, transportation staff is currently neck deep in ATP grant applications, and we'll be submitting those applications, which are due midnight tomorrow. So those 2 applications include the I Street Bridge debt conversion for active transportation project, which is the sister project to the I Street Bridge replacement project, wherein once vehicle traffic is removed from the historic bridge, this project seeks to obtain funding in order to construct new approach ramps both on Sacramento and West Sacramento side, and to provide some deck improvements to the historic bridge to facilitate a dedicated active transportation corridor over the historic bridge. So that's one of the applications that's going in. The second application is now suddenly eluding me, probably because of lack of sleep from ATP applications. I'll have to think about that and get back to you. I totally apologize. The other item to report, which you will be receiving a future agenda item on this, is the streetcar. You've probably been keeping in tabs with the current news. It's been a little bit of a wild ride in that we had completed the application to submit to the Federal Transit Administration for the reduced streetcar project alternative. That ended up going to the city of Sacramento and received a split vote, but ultimately did receive just enough votes to proceed. However, Sacramento did vote to essentially defund a large portion of that project. And then that project went to Sacramento Regional Transit, where it just barely missed the votes. Sacramento Regional Transit has weighted vote system. I believe it's based on population, giving those weighted advantage for larger cities. Unfortunately, one member from Citrus Heights was absent, and the vote went down to not submit that application to the FTA. We were trying to hit the deadline in order to retain the $50 million allocated under the Obama administration for federal funding for the project. Since then, and also the $30 million that we had received through the Transit Intercity Rail Capital Program, the TIRCP. So it's a total of $80 million. So there's a lot on the line here. Since that time, I believe Congresswoman Matsui has had conversations with members of the city of Sacramento and Sacramento Regional Transit, and it is currently, right now, been brought before the Sacramento Regional Transit Board once again for a subsequent vote. I'm here with my cell phone waiting for a text from staff at Regional Transit to let me know exactly how it goes. And as soon as I log off here, I'm going to log in there and see if the conversation is still being had. I will be able to report to you at the next TMI Commission meeting what happened. And at that point, we have to figure out, are we moving forward with that project or are we looking at alternatives? So I'm happy to have that conversation at the next TMI Commission meeting.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. McCoy. Item 4C is future agenda item requests by the Commission. Commissioners, do you have any future agenda item requests you'd like to make? Seeing none, I have a couple I'd like to add on, just since the next Commission meeting will be our final one of 2020, so I want to make sure that we hit everything. As I noted during the public comment portion of the meeting, if staff could provide an update on the outreach to the member of West Sacramento who submitted that public comment. And then I look forward to the streetcar project update as well, Mr. McCoy. And then I did have two additional requests since it's been some time since the Commission's last heard about them. I'd like to request an update on Lime returning to West Sacramento with their shared micromobility devices and to see whether there's been any changes since they were previously owned and operated under Uber. And then I'd like to request an update on the construction progress of the West Capitol Avenue Safety Enhancement and Road Rehabilitation Project as well. And I apologize for adding additional work towards the end of the year, but I think the conversation and information would be really helpful to Commission members.
That's quite all right. That's why we're here. I will go ahead and pass that along to the appropriate project managers. I'll be giving the update on the streetcar project. And then I'll let others know. I believe with regard to the public comment received, it was pertaining to striping and maintenance. So I will pass that along to our Public Works Department and the maintenance group to provide an update on that.
Yeah, Jason, let me just chime in. Ryan Tevis is our project manager of construction on the West Capitol Avenue Safety Enhancement and Road Rehab Project. And we'll prepare for him to bring an update on the project status to the TMI Commission. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it very much, Mr. McKay and Mr. McCoy. And unless there are any future agenda item requests by my fellow commissioners, I believe we've reached item 4D, adjournment. Thank you all, and I hereby adjourn this meeting of the TMI Commission. Have a great night.
Thank you, Chair Hirsch.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners.